ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. My name is Kevin Schroeder, retired NYPD detective, and I'm here with my co-host, retired Captain Ed Mamet. Say hello, Ed.
Hello, WABC listeners. Today is a very special day for me because the guest and I go back almost 50 years or more.
So today's guest, we're very honored to have the famous NYPD Commissioner, Raymond Kelly. Hello, Raymond.
Hey, good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
I want to say that I did 40 years in the department, and I served under 11 police commissioners, and Ray Kelly was by far the best of all. I really have to say that. And he was a cop, he's a lawyer, he was a Marine, he was police commissioner twice. He went to Haiti for President Clinton. He was a commissioner in boxing. He's a consultant. I mean, he's everything. He has a resume that is hard to beat. And I've known him since 1972, when we were both promoted from the same lieutenant's list. I got promoted before him because I was older than him. I had more seniority than him. And he went on to be the police commissioner, and I only went on to be as high as captain. And I remember him saying to me one day, the best thing that ever happened to him, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, was his wife in the Marine Corps. Am I correct?
Oh, I did the police department there too.
No, before that.
The triad.
And he was a Marine, and
I'm showing you attention. Eddie.
Right. And then he also wrote a book, a best-selling book entitled Vigilance, about his time with dealing with anti-terrorism. And one of the things I admired most about him, and this I can say this from a very personal level, is that I guess he learned this in the Marine Corps. When he was police commissioner, he would visit injured and sick police officers, and if he couldn't get out to visit him, he would call them. And I have never heard of a police commissioner doing that. So he was to be admired for that. And also in my own case, I was seriously injured many years ago. I was in a hospital, almost on my deathbed. And unbeknownst to me, he came to visit me. And I didn't know about it until about 20 years later. And when I asked him about it, I said, how come you never told me? And he says to me, what's the difference? You survived. So he's a man to be admired.
Well, Eddie, thank you so much for those very kind words. It's a mutual admiration relationship because you are one of the most tenacious and effective fighters on a lot of fronts that I know. So, but thank you. Coming from you, it means a lot.
So I have a Commissioner Ray Kelly story myself. I do not know him as well as you do, Ed. But my story, Commissioner, is back in November 2001. You were the Commissioner of Boxing, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yes. So I was in the Midtown North Detective Squad, and we happened to be watching a fight live on ESPN, coming live from Roseland, which I believe you were at, attending the fight. And little did we know, about 30 minutes after we put on the fight, that the detective squad would be over in Roseland making an arrest for locking up James Butler for punching Richard Grant at Roseland, sucker punching him and breaking his jaw, and we locked him up for assault. We took him back to the squad in his shorts, and we processed him, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so I was the boxing commissioner, you're correct, and I was at Roseland that night witnessing the fight. Now, the two fighters were James Butler and Richard Grant. Grant was basically a boxer where Butler was known as a puncher. So it's a 6-round fight, and throughout the fight, Grant sort of bobbed and weaved and certainly avoided being knocked out, and Butler lost on a decision. So at the end of the fight, the gloves are cut off, and Grant goes over to shake Butler's hand, and he cold cocks him, smashes him with the right hand, knocks him down, knocks him out, breaks his jaw, cuts his face open. He had, lots of stitches ultimately. So I was shocked. Everybody was shocked.
Right.
So we're going to arrest this man. Now, there were cops there. I think Joe Esposito was there, if I'm not certain. And anyway, there were cops present, and we got to arrest this guy. So we went into the dressing room, and we just stopped there, held him there. And I know detectives came. Obviously, Kevin, you responded there, and took him in his trunk. We didn't let him get dressed or anything. Took him. You took him to the station house. He ultimately, I think, was somehow sentenced to a year, but he did 4 months in Rikers for that assault.
Right.
But this guy was a really bad dude. He went to California. I don't know if you remember, there's a TV guy by the name of Max Kellerman who was on ESPN. I think he may still be on ESPN, but his brother was involved in the fight business. This guy Butler he was down and out, went to live with his brother Sam Kellerman, and he killed him. He hit him with a hammer, and he murdered him. He was sentenced to over 20 years in jail in California. Now, I lost track of him. Somebody told me that he was killed in prison, but I don't know if that's the facts or not. But it was a jolt to everybody, and the right thing was done. And Kevin, you were there.
Yeah, I was there, and I was the AO, the arresting officer.
Commissioner, America faces unprecedented challenges, many which involve public safety and maintaining order. Is American law enforcement up to the challenge as far as you know?
Guys, I think the jury is still very much out on that question, unfortunately. The death of George Floyd brought about a sea change in policing in America. Cops were demonized, they were vilified, they were attacked right here in this city. We saw the day after, or actually the night, I believe, George Floyd's video came out. We saw a major riot in the city, thousands of rioters, over 400 cops injured. We saw, Macy's looted, other stores looted, and we had over 300 riots, disturbances throughout the country, with many cops injured, people killed, and huge amounts of property damage. Since then, police have sort of necessarily taken a step back. Thousands of cops have left their profession, not only in New York City, but throughout the country. There were laws passed just to punish the police. And, you can see this silly law that's been passed by the city council, how many stops law. They have cops who make a report on everybody, basically, they talk to. More than just saying hello, any other contact, you've got to make it a point. So this is the reaction that happened as a result of George Floyd. And it's very difficult for departments to hire an adequate number of police officers. The NYPD is down literally thousands of officers from where it should be. Cops are leaving without any pension benefits, without vested interest. They're still leaving. I thought the PBA contract would slow that down. I'm told, apparently, that so far it has not. They're still leaving in an inordinately high number. And proactive policing, the thing that worked so well under the Giuliani and Bloomberg administration, is pretty much a thing of the past. That we were involved in reactive policing. And so if you look down the road, is that going to change? I don't see any particular reason to be optimistic about it changing. You know, I have two young granddaughters who are the light of our lives, and I certainly worry about the future for them and for the future for America, because what's happening here is happening to varying degrees in other major cities in our country, and it's something to be very concerned about. So, I wish I had a more positive answer for you. I certainly hope America gets on the right track and law enforcement gets on the right track, but so far that hasn't happened.
What I'd like to point out to our listeners is that under your 12 years, we were the safest city in America, and now it's totally reversed. You're going to have to come back.
Yeah, well, a lot of things have happened. The city council has become more radical, believe it or not, after every election. And they are the enemies of the police and the enemies of the public in New York City. They've made major changes that have really made life very difficult for police officers now. It's a job I love. I know the three of us love it. But I think you'd have to ask yourself now, if you were 21 years old at this time, you'd have to think long and hard about joining the department these days. And that's a sad thing to say.
Well, Commissioner, on that note, unlike when I came on in 1985, guys would leave the job to go to, maybe Nassau County or state troopers or the fire department. But now you have these kids coming on a job at 21, 22 years old out of college, and they're just leaving to leave, like not even going to another police department, just like, I'm done, I'm burnt out, I'm going to get another career. And we didn't see that back in our day, basically back in our day. They moved on to another law enforcement. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, we always had that movement from the police department to the fire department. The fire department's a great job. We understood that, but just as you said, police officers are leaving without any vested interest. 5 years you get some sort of retirement benefit. They're not waiting for that. They are leaving, and I don't think we know fully why they're leaving. I get different reasons given to me. People say it's forced overtime. It's just the total change of attitude towards cops on the part of the public. It's the restrictive laws and regulations that have been put in by the city council. So they're leaving. No question about it. I'd like to have more definitive answers as to why. Maybe somehow it can be addressed, but so far it's not been addressed.
Yeah, well, of course, there's a shortage with manpower, and, we loved overtime. In my day, we loved overtime. We'd stay there for 3 days in a row. We'd have to be told to go home. But the kids today, they don't really want the overtime. They want their freedom. They want to do their 5 and 2, 5 and 3 and go home, not work 7, 8 days in a row, triples, doubles, and, they understand they have to be there. That's what they signed up for. But at the end of the day, there's no one coming over the mountain. There's no help coming in sight.
Yeah, I mean, they can, and even the solo tours is something that cops talk about, and I know I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting on it in this contract. But if you do a little tour like that, or do overtime or whatever, go home and then come back, that is quite a burden. And a lot of cops live out of the city, and which they're absolutely entitled to do. So it makes life very difficult for them and their families.
True. Very true.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
On to another area. The rapid growth of artificial intelligence poses new challenges and opportunities for law enforcement. What are your thoughts about AI for the future?
Well, I tell you, I don't know enough about it. I'd like to know more about it. I've read about it. I can say this, though. Some very, very smart people had questions about the dangers of AI. Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt, founder of Google, Elon Musk, have all said that AI has to be carefully controlled. And so far, we don't see the structure in place to do that. It's been talked about. We would need international compacts, that sort of thing. So it's very much an open issue. I was thinking, in terms of policing is concerned, or law enforcement, just think about counterfeiting. With the information from artificial intelligence, you can make a perfect $100 bill. How do we guard against that sort of phenomena? I mean, just many issues that have to be thought about as far as AI is concerned. But for me, having those types of people warn about it made me very leery of it. I fooled around with Chat GPT, and it's kind of amazing. You just ask the questions and it spouts answers. The answers are not always correct, but it responds very quickly. And it's something that we all need collectively a lot more information about. It just can't be the elites that are running AI and the application of AI.
One of the things I wanted to comment about that, I had read or heard that regarding the October 7th attack in Israel, one of the reasons why the Israeli was caught off guard was they relied heavily on AI to monitor the border at Gaza. And rather than use human intelligence like it was done before, supposedly this over-reliance caused the problem. So there are problems with AI, and people should not rush to embrace it.
We worked when I was in the department with the Israelis, very good intelligence operations. I was totally shocked by October 7th. And I think you're right, and that there was an over-reliance on technology. I read that they had automated machine guns, and nobody was actually shooting a machine gun.
Correct.
And, it was all done electronically. And they were not fighting and are not fighting dumb people. They dismantle a lot of the defensive structure they had with drones. So it's a change of world, and it really surprised me that they were not more on guard.
The new agreement, the so-called Kettling agreement, which relates to protesting. Kevin wants to talk about that.
Yeah, Commissioner, what is your thoughts on the Kettling Agreement?
It has gone way too far. And it's incredible that the mayor agreed to this. Why did he agree to it? Oh, the lawyers told him to do it. That's not leadership, because lawyers tell you to do something. They always want to settle. I mean, it's ludicrous. Now, it actually creates a committee of, I think, 5 or 6 people, only one from the police department, that's going to manage, are going to look at how disorders are policed. And, you know what, they're going to tell the department, based on the number of people who are demonstrating, how many cops you should assign. I mean, that is ludicrous. You need flexibility. You know, if you have intelligence information as to what's going on in a particular demonstration. Now, kettling, the term kettling, I think is a plaintiff's term, made up by plaintiff's lawyers. Mm-hmm. But in essence, what it means is you can't go behind demonstrators. They always need a way to move away, to escape. Which to me, let's say you have to arrest somebody in the crowd. You may have observers on the roof. You're looking at people. They're doing some criminal act. Okay, we want to arrest that guy, and that guy. You have to go around behind them to cut them off. It makes no sense to have an agreement like this. And the nerve, the plaintiff, or certainly the judge in this case, who's going to sign off on this, apparently has signed off on the agreement, can totally supersede the knowledge, the experience, the operational know-how of police commanders in the field. It's just absurd. And I think we need a lot more training as far as handling these disorder situations are concerned. We remember, the days where you had 1041 and 1042s where, radio cars would be called to the scene of a major event. Well, that has not been trained. And in the de Blasio administration, they stopped all disorder control training except for the SRGs, or as we used to call them, the task force.
Task force, right.
So there was no training for over 6 years. In Bloomberg administration, we had disorder control training for some part of the department every day. That ended with the Blasio. So for 6.5 years, you had no disorder training. And then you saw what happened after the George Floyd incident, where the cops were caught unaware and not able, in my opinion, to adequately respond. So this is not what the department needs. You don't need more oversight as far as disorders are concerned. We need more training. We need more training for cops in the precincts, because they have to respond when there is a large disorder. They're working with cops that they don't necessarily work with. They're working with precinct folks from other commands. That's the type of coordination and training that the department needs to work on, not having the civilian oversight people come in and tell you how many cops you should assign to a demonstration.
In our time, when I say our, yours and mine, we never heard of this term kettling, and also this agreement flies in the face of hundreds of years of riot control techniques. As I recall that when you have a disorder or whatever, you use the wedge formations, you break up the crowds, and you allow them to escape or go down the side streets. You don't trap them in one place. So everything has been changed around, and that's kind of bizarre. I think you were too. I remember the Harlem riots of 1964 and the Bedford-Stuyvesant riots of 64, the Martin Luther King riots of 68, all the Vietnam demonstrations. You and I went through all that. We handled them. We didn't have these kind of problems that we have today. And also, what's wrong with this agreement? It requires, consultation with higher ranks. As you know, a peaceful demonstration can turn on a dime and become a riot. you don't have time to ask it for permission. Can I do this? Can I do that? Am I correct?
Absolutely, but I don't know if this was ever discussed at all with the. Somehow Adams has been told that this is a good thing to find it. It's ridiculous. I agree. The Department did pretty well handling those major demonstrations through the years.
We had the help of the mounted unit, which I don't see the mounted unit out there anymore with these demonstrations.
No, you don't see nothing at all. And you don't see nightsticks.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
If you're going to push a crowd back, you're not going to do it with your ass. The ass is that little extendable thing that the cops now have. No, you need nightsticks to be used as not necessarily as a weapon, but certainly as a tool to push or control people.
And another thing in this agreement, they say that you're not supposed to have the display of overwhelming force. I can recall that one of the ways you deter these riotous situations is by demonstrating an overwhelming show of force. You don't have to actually put them into action, but just the mere presence of hundreds of police officers with nightsticks, can be a very important thing.
Absolutely, excellent point. Yeah. Of course, that's what you want to do to make certain that there isn't a close combat. But no, this is another just a silly example of what's going on in the city administration.
So, Commissioner, I'm sure you're well aware of Mayor Adams vetoed the How Many Stops Act that would require cops to log every investigative encounter with civilians. What is your thoughts on this bill?
Well, the fundamental issue, what is the purpose? It serves absolutely no purpose. New York is a majority-minority city. So people you're going to stop and ask if they're witnesses to a crime, guess what? Chances are they're going to be minority. What is the purpose of it? Now, it's a fellow, Jim Quinn, who wrote an article today in the Post. He was a former executive district attorney in Queens for 42 years. He does an excellent job addressing this. It is strictly an effort to handicap police and make them undo unnecessary work. It's never been a complaint that people have been harassed or stopped when you're talking to them as being a witness. We have the stop and question and frisk forms. And they show consistently the race of people who are questioned. It's more than adequate to have that type of information on that form. So this is, Jermani Williams is a cop hater. He's pushing this. He's the public advocate. And I would believe that they're going to override the mayor's veto because it shows who's the boss. They want to show that they're in charge. So he needs 2 votes, apparently, to sustain his veto. And by the way, I mean, this is kind of a gift to Eric Adams. It makes him look like he's pro-police. He's done a lot of things that have not indicated that. There's no use, for instance, of anti-crime personnel. The 3 of us have seen how effective anti-crime can be through the years, particularly addressing street crime. And that's the area where crime is rising, continues to rise. Robberies, grand larcenies, that sort of thing. So he won't do that. But, he vetoed this. Okay, we'll give him credit for that, but I think it'll be overridden.
Yeah, I believe so. Unfortunately, I believe so as well. I mean, in an investigation, detectives already do, DD5s. That's what DD5s are for. But to have every police officer filling out this paperwork, ridiculous. But
the question is, how are they going to do it? Are they going to do it on their smartphones, or are they going to do it on paper? And regardless of how they do it, you're going to have all this information. Where is it going to go, and who's going to look at it? It's crazy.
And it's obviously going to be a deterrent to stop people in any case. One of the human reactions will be, hey, I'll just talk to fewer people.
And probably there'll be overtime generated because they'll have to spend time at making the entries. So there's really no purpose in it, other than to satisfy Drew Money Williams' crazy agenda. And not only that, you know what I think is going to happen? I think what will happen is it'll get so overwhelming that people in the department will stop doing it. So what can the city council do?
Yeah, no, I think that two things will happen. To the extent that it is adhered to, it'll be overwhelming, and it just won't do it anymore. Right. Or they won't talk to people. Which is another bad thing.
That's right.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
So, Commissioner, you've had a very distinguished career, as we all know. Great career. Looking back, which part has been the most gratifying?
Well, I've been very fortunate, very lucky with the wonderful opportunities. I've met some great people, great cops. I was in the federal government. I was in the Marine Corps. I've been so privileged to be with great institutions. It's hard to pick out any one thing. I would say, when Bloomberg asked me to come back as the police commissioner, it was just a month or so after horrendous events of 9/11. We had tremendous challenges ahead of us when we came in 2002. Cops were leaving. The city population was changing. People were leaving the city. You could go to Times Square and see that the traffic just simply wasn't there. So we had to rebuild in a lot of ways. And we started out with the 3 Cs, we called it. Community relations, crime control, and counterterrorism. Those were our 3 sort of operating principles and targets in the Bloomberg administration. And after 12 years of Bloomberg, we had a 40% reduction in violent crime. We had no successful terrorism attacks in New York City, even though we had 16 plus. We had created our own counterterrorism bureau, put people overseas, and then done a lot to assist the federal government in protecting New York from another attack. And as far as community relations are concerned, I'm very fortunate, happy, and proud to say that I had a 75% approval rating in 2013 last year, and had a 63% approval rating with the African American community. So that I think that that made me proud, and I think it was a result of a lot of hard work, not only by me, but a lot of other people. I think cops did a great job on Mayor Bloomberg's watch, and we were all very, very proud of the work the NYPD did during those years.
I'd like to point out to our listeners that Commissioner Kelly was the longest-serving commissioner in the history of the New York City Police Department. He did 12 years under Mayor Bloomberg, and I believe under Dinkins it was about 18 months. Am I right, Commissioner?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So prior to him, the longest serving was Louis Valentine under Mayor LaGuardia, about 11 years. And Ray Kelly exceeded that by several years. And not only that, he was the first commissioner to be appointed 2 times in different administrations. I know that he was followed by Bratton, but Ray Kelly was the first to have 2 separate appointments. He was the 47th commissioner, I believe, and then the 35th commissioner, something like that. So, and also, I'd like to point out to the audience, if you haven't done it, you should get his book, Vigilance, and read that book. It's a great book, and it'll tell you more about him. It goes into his personal life. Weren't your brothers all Marines?
Yes, I had 3 older brothers. They were all Marines, and of course, I had no choice as a result.
Right, and your son Greg, who we interviewed recently, he was a Marine, a Harrier jet pilot. So you have a great Marine Corps history. So it's hard to imagine someone like yourself ever retiring in the traditional sense. So what's your focus these days?
Well, I'm still involved in consulting with security companies. I'm on the Al Smith board and a couple other charitable efforts. And I'm right now a caretaker for my wife who injured her foot and had an operation, but she's going to be fine. But that's my immediate job is to take care of her, and she's doing fine.
Well, anyway, it's been a great interview. I'm so proud to have done this with you because you and I go back for so many years. I mean, half a century we know each other.
Yeah, very true.
We were both youngsters when we met.
Very true.
Commissioner, thank you so much for being our guest today on Cop Talk, and it was a great interview and a pleasure and a privilege to, and we're honored to have you on today. So thank you very much for all of God's work we've done through the years, and you continue to do. So thank you.
That's very nice. Thank you for having me, and hope to see you in person one of these days.
Sounds great. We look forward to it. So if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to Cop Talk, and you can follow us on Twitter at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, be safe out there. God bless the NYPD. God bless law enforcement throughout the world. And also, God bless America. Thank you.